up, folks? Lucifer's here. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back. So this is something different format for me for putting together a final thoughts video. I've only just started recently using a cam, so I figured I'd let y'all see my mug while I give my final thoughts on Starfield Shattered Space. We'll start with some basics. It took me about 19 hours of play. That included my breaks. I filmed every bit of it. Well, I live streamed every bit of it. So that 19 hours of live streaming in 8 different episodes included, a couple of breaks here and there. And in the last few episodes, a few technical difficulties I had to troubleshoot to even get the game to launch. But all in all this is opinion from my experience. I am not here to hate on Bethesda, bash on Bethesda, or anything. I'm just giving straight up thoughts and opinions, likes and dislikes of Shattered Space. I'm not here to give a review on the whole game, just the DLC. But I'm not here to give them all praises and accolades either. There is some stuff that definitely could have been done better, and some stuff from a customer's point of view that I'm going to point out later in the video that to me just indicative of kind of bad customer service. There are going to be positives and negatives and my opinion on what I think about it. So one of the first things I'd like to touch on is the aesthetics, the world, the way it was built, the way it's presented, the sky, the ground, the terrain, the textures, I thought were all very well done. I enjoyed the way Dazra looked. Definitely had a unique feel. The world had a unique feel to it. But I won't dwell on that too much because, I think Starfield's a good looking game. I use a 4090 DLSS, all that stuff. And I think Starfield is a good looking game, great looking game. One of the better looking graphics-wise and world-wise that Bethesda has made. It adds a new faction. We all knew about the House Varun through the regular gameplay, but the main game, but that was always missing. You're always just fighting against them. I never joined the faction. I didn't use that perk, so I don't think even if you use the perk, there was a reason to choose that perk in the base game because nothing was expanded on with House Varun in the base game. But it adds a new faction, so it can now finally in future DLCs include all the factions in the game, give you choices what to do, where to go. At least that's the way I see it. But it adds a new faction. And it also seems like Bethesda's trying to get back to their roots as far as exploration. Though it still use some work. I'll touch a little bit on that later on in the video. The way they presented the quest on this planet, it just seems like they were trying to touch upon the type of exploration that Bethesda games are good at and are famous for. They'll still use some work getting back to true Bethesda form on that exploration. I think it's a good start, a building block to build on for the next expansion on how to get exploration back into a Bethesda game to make it more fun. All right, so the gist of the story is, well, I'm not going to give away a lot of spoilers here. So you start off, you get that message to go to the space station. And I think they were trying to pull off some kind of horror questing. And in my opinion, it wasn't horror. It missed the mark on that. To me, it was just some kind of normal high-tech sci-fi thing. There wasn't really a whole lot of horror to it. There was nothing really that jumped at me or made me jump or anything like that. Not like a Silent Hill would or anything like that. But it was a decent sci-fi story. Uh, Probably not the best of it, not the best I've ever seen, but it was decent. It had a decent start, and we'll get more into what slowed it down a little bit later on in the video. They did add, looked like a lot of new Varun outfits. I didn't get to try them all on. I still haven't done that yet, but a lot of Varun outfits and maybe some new armors. There was some new loot. I didn't check out a whole lot of it, but they added some new weapons. Could be just weapon skins. I didn't really look real into it. I mean, that could be seen as a positive, but from my point of view, it didn't really do any good to me because I like the weapons I use. None of those weapons I picked up or looted or what have you were, in my eyes, better than what I was using, so I just sold them. Side quest. Now, the one positive for me, I don't know how anybody else feels about this, but one positive for me is that, yeah, you did get some just by wandering past a few people, but and I don't know if there's more side quests. The ones I did when I was playing through, there may be, and I just didn't run across them. They seem to reduce the number of quests you get by just walking by people, and they randomly spout off stuff. So that was a plus to me, because that never made any sense that some guard would tell you something and then you'd have to go check it out because they were being overheard or something like that way of receiving a quest has never appealed to me. They could have some job board or something like that where you got to go talk to a specific person that they're hiring for a specific thing. But just to randomly walk by people and all of a sudden you got a quest, that drives me nuts. I know they have some of it in Fallout 4, and it drives me nuts in that game too. I know in some of their other games you can randomly walk by people and get a quest because they say something. But in Starfield, it's overboard. That's the best way to put it. It is way overboard on how you pick up those quests. Anyway, I'm getting into a negative. I'm trying to keep this part positive. And I really liked that they kept everything to that one general area on the planet. And the rest of the planet you can go explore, but all the questing, everything was kept to that general area on the planet. And I think if they would have had that formula for every quest type in the base game, where if you got sent to a planet, everything you need to do for that particular quest was right there on that planet, and then you go back or what have you. Having all the stuff right there in that one general area was a big bonus, was a big positive. And now I'm going to kind of move on to some negative things on it. The length of the DLC. I've seen a lot of complaints about how short it is. I might have to throw my hat in agreement with how short it is. I don't know how many side quests there were, but the ones I did complete, and plus the main story quest, I spent time when I was traveling walking. I did a lot of walking. I didn't do a whole lot of quick travel at first, but I did a lot of walking. I used the vehicle a lot. That sort of stretched out the time. If I would have done a lot of quick traveling and running, I probably would have been done faster. 19 hours. And, that 19 hours includes during my streams. I try to take a break, especially if they're going to be 2, 3, or 4 hour stream. I try to take, a 5 to 10 minute break, stretch my legs and stuff. So, in all my streams, that included my break times, that included, and I was having difficulty with the save game files loading. I had to do a little troubleshooting, and it ended up being partly because of a mod, one that I paid for, by the way, the mining conglomerate, and then partly because of the DLC. I didn't really ever have this loading problem before the DLC. So something's conflicting there with this mod and that DLC causing the save game load file. And I never would have a problem transitioning uh, from one area to another with a load screen. It was only if I had unalived and had to reload, or if I had made a mistake, like accidentally throwing a grenade at some people in town, which happened a few times. But accidentally shooting at somebody or throwing a grenade, blowing them up, and I had to reload, it would lock up, and I'd have to completely exit out of the game using the task manager and restart the game. So that was pretty annoying. I think it was partially because of a mod and partially because of not great optimization for that. So yeah, I think the DLC was a little short. And to expand upon that, I think what it felt like to me as I was playing it was that this was content that was going to be in the main game, setting up the final faction. And they ran out of time. And they ended up having to turn it into DLC. That's what it feels like. Quest rewards were pretty mediocre. A lot of it was just credits. I already have, anywhere from 1.5 million to 2 million, and I get more credits just out wandering around. I haven't done any shipbuilding in a while, spending my credits, so all my credits just building up. So credit rewards, yeah, I'll take them, but I think the quest rewards were pretty lackluster. I found some legendaries I hadn't really looked at, but none of the weapons, the Varun weapons, I'll use. I won't even think about replacing the ones I use with the Varun weapons. Even that one that has, I guess that's some kind of grenade they threw. The vortex, is that what that big circle of electricity or whatever it is that they throw that you see every now and then? I think that was a vortex grenade. I probably won't even make it. It doesn't appeal to me, doesn't interest me or anything. That part of it was kind of to me. Now, I could be wrong, but to me, it seems like most games that get DLC like this, they tend to add new abilities, new mechanics. I know the Rev 8 came early. Perhaps they were waiting for the vehicle at first to be launched with this expansion, but they decided to put it out early to keep us players. How can I say this? To keep the grumbling to a minimum. We're still going to grumble though. Well, to help with fans that were just unhappy with the progress of the game. I mean, yeah, they released a lot of bug fixes and stuff like they said they would, and got the maps in and all that, but I think the vehicle they took away from the expansion to keep us happy, to keep us engaged a little longer before they were ready to release the expansion, which I was fine with. I like the vehicle. I'm getting sidetracked. So, dialogue. Oh my gosh. There are many instances through this when you're doing a quest and you even pick the option where you don't feel like listening to their story, they still tell it anyway. That drives me nuts. I can't stand that. If you pick that option that you don't want to hear the story, the backstory of why they're giving you the complete backstory, why they're giving you this quest, or the complete backstory of their house and family, and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to know. I just want to get the quest and move on. Stuff like that just makes me cringe. It just adds a lot more bloat to the questing that doesn't need to be there. I mean, yeah, there's lore stuff, and if somebody wants to sit and listen through that, yeah, but when you pick that option that you don't want to hear that whole story, don't tell it anyway. That's just that. There's a lot of instances with the questing where there is a lot of unnecessary dialogue to get the point across what they were trying to make. writing to me, both the main story and the side quest, the writing to me was pretty mediocre. I expect better writing. It seems like the writing was done by a bunch of kids. Some of the quests they felt like they were written by kids. Some of the outcomes and stuff like that. Not all of them, but a couple of them. I'm just not going to go into too many spoilers. I'm trying not to. So all I can say is their writing team needs some coaching, or a whole new writing team. Mediocre for the most part. Though I found the main story fairly interesting. The writing, if the writing is bad, it makes the acting bad. Because the actors can only act out what is before them, what's written. So if you have bad writing, it's unfortunately reflects on the actors. There you have it. I didn't think the writing was all that great. The presentation of the quest were all that great. Two of the quests I couldn't stand. The others were okay. There was one very long fetch quest that was, I did it because I picked up the quest and I finished it up, and all it was one massive fetch quest. By the end, you really didn't get anything out of it. But there are two quest types that you get almost right off the bat that I'm so sick of seeing in video games, and that is walk the path and reflect. The walking a path quest. You walk your path to reflect on your sins. You walk a path to get in touch with Mother Nature. You walk a path to reflect on your place in society. Those types of quests. I don't care about that crap. I don't need to walk a path to reflect on anything. I don't know what what kind of message they were trying to convey with it. Whatever, if there was a message with that stuff, is completely lost on me because I don't care for that crap. I just want to shoot stuff, go retrieve stuff. I don't need to reflect on past sins in my place in society or my religion. If I do any kind of that reflecting, I'll go to church. I don't need it in video games. I did not run the DLC with Andreja. I ran it with Sarah Morgan. Bocephus and Sarah Morgan they're married. So I was like, why not? I'll just take Sarah Morgan, even though a lot of people probably did it with Andreja. And she would say some of the oddest things, and this is throughout the whole game. She says the oddest things sometimes at the oddest times. Sometimes it's comical, sometimes it makes you go, what the hell? That was dumb. But anyway, one of my episodes, if you're was making a comment, I was bringing up Sarah, he made a comment, and I don't know how true it is, because I think a lot of people played with Andreja expecting all kinds of different dialogue and stuff like that. But I didn't play with Andreja. And one viewer that stopped in during one of my episodes said that Sarah was saying a lot of the exact same things Andreja. Maybe I'll do some experimenting or research to find out. I don't know. So I don't have any reason to doubt them. And it wouldn't surprise me. So, but a lot of Sarah's dialogue and Andreja's dialogue, from my understanding, from what this fella told me in my chat, was the same. So I don't think it really would have mattered. If that's the case, it really wouldn't have mattered which companion you brought if they were speaking the same stuff, saying the same stuff. Now, I play a custom game. I've got my settings customized, and they're maybe a little bit harder, maybe a little bit more on a little bit harder than normal, the normal difficulty, I'd say. So the fights became pretty challenging a few times with that. And of course, there were times when I was yapping and wasn't paying attention to my health and get squashed. But that final fight, it ended up being a pretty good challenge. It made me cuss a couple times with my difficulty settings that I got, but once I figured out exactly what I had to do, I was able to get through it and finish up the story. But the difficulty, I think it's going to be as difficult as you make it, depending on the settings you use. I like that they did that. And in Fallout, I use not I don't use survival mode. It's the hardest difficulty right before survival mode that I use for Fallout. And I try that with the adjustments I made in Starfield. So because I'm on the game, I don't want to go through things too easy. Every now and then, it's healthy to get your butt beat and have to cuss at it a little bit, and then press on. Gives you a feeling of accomplishment. I've gone over some positives and some negatives, some uh, accolades and complaints. How do I feel about it? Emil said something on Twitter about it being one of their greatest or one of their best projects. I have to disagree. I'm not saying they didn't work hard on it. I'm not saying they didn't put in time and effort on it. But there's a couple of things in summary. One, I think it was meant for the base game. I just got this feeling it was meant for the base game, and they were just, after 8 years, running out of time, so they turned it into DLC. There was nothing innovative or new about it. It didn't add really anything new other than a faction, some quest, and some equipment. That's it. That's something that could have been in a base game. Just to throw this in there, that was one of my main criticisms of the base game, was not having a ground vehicle. I enjoyed it and liked that they finally put in a ground vehicle, but that's something that should have been in the base game as well when it launched. So I think this DLC, they're just, it doesn't feel like a DLC. It feels like it should have been in a base game, or even it felt like it was a mod, not something that the studio themselves would make. It felt like it was a mod. Not saying modders make bad stuff, but they don't. A lot of modders don't make stuff on the quality of what the studio actually makes. There's very few exceptions. Sim Settlements 2, for one, for Fallout 4, I think is a very, very high quality mod. But I digress, or I'm getting into a different game. Anyway, I don't feel this was their best. Their best to me was Far Harbor. Fallout 4 will remain their best DLC. Though some would disagree, some would say some of Skyrim stuff is, but I'm not in a Skyrim. I've only got 270 hours in Skyrim, and I mod it, and I've never completed Skyrim because I keep just getting distracted with mods. So, but Skyrim, really, I'm more into sci-fi and apocalyptic survival games. I just don't feel it was DLC. It came with my premium edition that I bought. But for those of you out there that haven't bought it yet, haven't played it yet, or anything like that, I'm not going to tell you not to get it, but it'd be up to you whether it's worth their asking price or not. Did I like it? Yeah, I liked it with some strings attached. And those strings attached it wasn't as grand as they were making it out to be. It something that got left out of the launch, or it was created like a mod. So anyway, I won't not recommend it. I mean, if you like Starfield, I think you'll play it, you'll kind of get mixed feelings about it yourself. You'll like certain parts of it, and there'll be other parts you'll be like, this really isn't DLC. This is a mod or something that should have been in the base game. So I think if you enjoyed the base game, you'll probably enjoy the Shattered Space for what it is, as just an extension of the base game. It's not an expansion, but more of an extension. And you finish it up, waiting for the next. Anyway, that's all I got. That's my thoughts on it. I hope they do better with the next one. Take care of yourself. Stay safe out there. If you're in the path of that hurricane, be safe. We're all praying for you. I'll catch you next video.